Yan.
Very sorry.
You back? Okay.
Back now. Right, and now we are back. We'd like to apologize for the technical issues, and we'd like to thank everyone for your patience and kind consideration. I can see some messages coming in already that you can hear me. I'm so glad everyone can hear me. So, despite all these issues, we're still looking forward to a very conducive discussion today with our esteemed panel of speakers. So, allow me to start again on the focus areas very quickly. Moving along. All right, the first that I mentioned just now was sporting culture, to promote sports culture as a lifestyle for all Malaysians. Secondly is sporting excellence, where we seek to establish a high performance sports ecosystem for everyone. Thirdly is talent identification, where we are maintaining a very strong focus to identify, nurture and empower future talents through a structured and comprehensive national talent development model that is driven by innovative scientific application. To establish Malaysia as a sporting hub, not just from the sake of infrastructure and facilities, but also as the preferred destination for world-class sports services, facilities, coaching, and other professional sports services. To empower Malaysia's sports industry, to help create a progressive and high value-added sports industry that significantly contributes to the national economy. And finally, to establish professionalism in sports, where we seek to enhance professionalism in the national sports ecosystem by focusing on high integrity and effective governance. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the 6 major pillars of Visi Sukan Negara 2030. And as a method for us to garner feedback, input, opinions from every layer of Malaysian society, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, we started Visi Sukan Negara via an engagement program called VSN2030 Canvas. So the Canvas is an initiative by KBS for us to acquire and gather aspirations and hopes from all Malaysians, from all walks of life, in guiding the government to formulate the direction of the nation's new sports development plan, for us to collectively move towards empowering a progressive and sustainable industry. So within the VSN 2030 Canvas methodology, we had engaged everyone via, number one, a VSN 2030 Canvas portal, where it is an interactive online portal for all citizens to go and voice your views and aspirations. Don't hesitate to log on to www.vsn2030.my for you to leave your feedback and aspirations. Secondly, through a plethora and spectrum of engagement sessions that has been held since August last year by KBS, we have been engaging with multiple stakeholders and the public at various levels for us to gather aspirations about the national sports arena. So we were resolute in seeking feedback and input, whether negative or whether hard to swallow, from the public and also all the stakeholders within the industry, for us to better understand what needs to be done and the context of the dynamic challenges that face us in the next 10 years. For a little bit of information on the engagement sessions, so we've done discussions through social media platforms such as Twitter Spaces, Facebook Live, Instagram TV, as well as Clubhouse. So we have done 8 sessions in total, and there has been 13 town halls by the main secretariat of Visi Sukan Negara. And town halls by Jabatan Belia Sukan Negara, total a number of 34. So far, we've had a total of 55 engagement sessions, and we have involved about 68,843 people with over 5,000 visions gathered. So that has become the crux of our approach for Visi Sukan Negara, for us to collect, collate, and put into context all of your inputs and feedbacks. So we have garnered and used a system that uses an selective query language and then its own dedicated system for KBS to be able to mine and gather the right context from all of these inputs and aspirations that you've shared with us. So thank you, Malaysia. The timeline for VSN2030, it had begun in earnest last August, but however, the public launch by our former Minister of Youth and Sports was done on the 7th of April 2021. So all through April and June, we've been going through the data collection and engagement of stakeholders. From July and August onwards, we've begun in earnest on the development of the initial VSN2030 document. And right now, we are within the editorial and final revisions of the VSN2030 document. As a matter of fact, today's town hall, the roundtable discussion done by Selangor Youth Community, is the state-level culmination of these efforts that we've done by the Secretariat to be able to provide these inputs that we seek for the document. And inshallah, God willing, we are looking to launch the blueprint itself by the new Yang Berhormat Minister of Youth and Sports within October or November this year, God willing. Thanks. So, ladies and gentlemen, please don't hesitate to scan the QR code on your screen. Visit us at www.vsn2030.my. Follow us on social medias, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot. Inilah visi kita. And with that, I'd like to kick off today's proceedings with a short video on VSN 2030.
This is my vision. What about yours?
Bagi saya, kita perlu ada visi untuk menjadikan atlet-atlet kita bertaraf antarabangsa.
Aspirasi saya adalah untuk meningkatkan prestasi atlet di persada dunia untuk melahirkan lebih ramai lagi jago dunia.
Supaya jurulatih-jurulatih tempatan diberi lebih peluang dapat juga menguruskan semua bidang sukan.
Aspirasi saya adalah untuk membantu Malaysia menjadi lebih kompetitif dari segi e-sports in the international level lah.
Aspirasi saya ialah untuk melihat atlet-atlet negara yang berada di kemuncak prestasi mereka selepas mereka bersara terus menjadi wira di mata rakyat Malaysia.
Mengharapkan dan juga mengimpikan lebih ramai atlet Paralimpik yang berkualiti tinggi dapat dihasilkan.
Medal. My bakat iaitu Talent Identification Plan untuk Malaysia akan menjadi satu penyelesaian kepada kesinambungan atlet-atlet yang bakal menyumbang kepada dekad emas.
Visi saya ialah lebih kepada membudayakan sukan. Sekarang kita dapat melihat semakin ramai yang minat dengan sukan basikal, tetapi mungkin antara penghalangnya dari segi facilities, dari segi peluang yang diberikan yang lebih jelas untuk kepada yang berminat untuk nak bergiat dengan sukan berbasikal, mereka lebih faham dan lebih ada keterbukaan.
Aspirasi saya adalah menjadikan semua atlet dari Malaysia untuk menjadi hero untuk semua rakyat Malaysia dengan menggunakan digital macam social media, Facebook, TikTok, segala platformnya supaya boleh membinakan inspirasi untuk semua orang.
Quality for athletes, variety of talents. Addictivity to the minds, grace and style of Malaysian athletes. We are legends, we have stories to be told.
Well, hi, I'm Nicole David, and my national sport vision would be to have more children in schools to play sport and be active, and also to have families to get involved as well.
Saya berharap Visi Sukan Negara 2030 melalui strategi-strategi yang lebih bersepadu akan dapat memperkasakan lagi pembangunan sukan di Malaysia dan seterusnya melahirkan jago-jago negara berkelas dunia.
Saya mengharapkan Visi Sukan Negara kita mempunyai begitu banyak badan-badan dan juga persatuan sukan yang bertaraf antarabangsa dan juga atlet-atlet kita mencapai ataupun memiliki pencapaian pingat emas dalam sukan Olimpik dan di semua kejohanan-kejohanan dunia.
Inilah visi saya.
Apakah visi anda?
Ini visi saya. Apakah visi anda?
Ini visi saya, visi anda bagaimana pula?
This is my vision. What about yours?
Itu visi saya, visi anda pula bagaimana?
Ini visi saya. Anda bagaimana pula?
Inilah inspirasi dan inilah visi saya, dan apakah visi anda?
There you go, everyone. That was a very brief introduction to Visi Sukan Negara 2030. And with that, we'd like to kick off today's proceedings. Selangor Youth is recognized by Visi Sukan Negara and Kementerian Belia dan Sukan as a major catalyst for us to garner feedback, input, and the right opinions from the grassroots, the voices that matter from all of you, the youth of Selangor and Malaysia. The CA Roundtable discussion was held earlier today with a total of 30 participants from various stakeholders from all levels in Selangor. The discussions were a structured engagement session, providing an open and structured platform for discourse on the topics that are integral towards all of us forming a roadmap and blueprint that will future-proof our country's next generation, to better prepare them for the sports, them and the sports industry as a whole towards competing on the global stage. I would like to again warmly welcome all our distinguished panel of speakers and all of our guests. And allow me to begin with Tuanku, if I may, Tuanku.
Yes.
As we are aware, your priceless focus and support in the creation of Selangor Youth Community, primarily with the successes of both the Selangor Champions League as well as the Selangor Criterium Series, and not to mention the FAS Soccer Schools, Tuanku. Perhaps you can kindly share with us some of your insights into these ongoing efforts, and what are your visions for the next steps to be taken by your efforts?
Thank you, Mr. Shamil, our honorable moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And greetings to our fellow panelists and the rest of the community and everyone that's watching here today. Yes, as you know, that I've been heavily involved and created a Selangor youth community. And the whole point of this NGO was to develop and organize a much more better voice for the youth of Selangor and for Malaysia. The idea was to also have it more vibrant, dynamic, and more progressive, to give us a way to voice out what is our say and how we see the future of Selangor and Malaysia to be. And obviously one of the main focuses and one of the pillars of Selangor Youth is looking at sports development and wellness, amongst other things as well. So yes, in Selangor Youth, I have dabbled in looking at youth and community sports through football, through cycling as the main avenues. But that doesn't mean that's the only sports that we have. We are open to all sorts of sports. In fact, one of the first sports that we've supported and sponsored was jiu-jitsu. This is what Selangor community is we are a very colorful place and we want to support in every avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuanku, for that insight into the focus that you have given towards Selangor and also sports in general. So to move on to Mr. Mark Chua. So Mark, nice to see you again after so many years. As a former national swimmer and the founder of Super Sharks Swim School, share with us some of the efforts that you've done as Super Sharks, and also some of the unique challenges that you faced in the last few years.
Hi everybody, a very good afternoon to Tuanku Amir, Raja Muda Selangor, Ms. Mariana Muhammad, Encik Shamil, our moderator, and our fellow distinguished guests.
Sorry, Mark, we can't hear you very clearly.
Okay. My name is Mark. I was an ex-national swimmer And together with my sister Marilyn, who swam in the Olympics in 2000, we found Super Shark Swim School. And for the last 15 years, we've served as elite coaches and development coaches for the Selangor swimming team. The reason
Mark, we're very sorry, Mark. We can't hear you. The Secretariat has requested that you not use your headphones. Very sorry.
Can you hear me better now?
We still can't hear you. Quite muddled.
Sorry, probably connection problem. Oh, loud and clear over there.
Okay, loud and clear now.
Okay, sorry, let me restart. A very good afternoon, Tuanku Ame, Raja Muda Selangor, Ms. Mariana Muhammad, Encik Syamil, moderator, and our fellow distinguished guests. My name is Mark, and I was an ex-Selangor and national swimmer, and together with my sister Marilyn, we are both Selangor and state swimmers, and she swam in the Olympics in 2000. We founded Super Shark Swim School. Over the last 15 years, we have served as elite and development coaches for Selangor swimming team, and developing a lot of young talents along the way. The reason why I started swimming at a very young age of 5 was due to a health incident where I was diagnosed with very poor health in terms of my lungs, and swimming was the only reason that could help improve my health. So I owe it to swimming, and I would like to actually give back and hopefully to promote the sport to others, to share this good news. Yeah. So second question is, what is Super Sharks and our coaching experience? So Super Sharks Swim School was created in 2006 due to the fact that we've realized that when we came back from overseas for our education, there's a huge lack of professional and swimming syllabus to fellow Malaysians. So I would say that the swimming system has been the same back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and have not changed since we came back in the year 2000. So we hope to make a difference by bringing in back some technology from overseas to implement here into Malaysia. So what we have done over the years, we've stolen some technologies that's been proven from America and Australia, and compiled it into a local syllabus here for local Malaysians. This syllabus through Super Sharks over the years has taught 20,000 people how to swim. But that wasn't a major problem. There was another problem which we found out that we have a severe lack in terms of professional instructors. So then we created a certification to be able to help certify young instructors to be swimming instructors. And with that, over the years, we have certified almost 250 young instructors. Some of them have taken the brand out to form their own swim schools, to create their own syllabus in other states. Some of them brought it back to Sabah and Sarawak to form swim schools over there. So we're really happy with this certification because not only has been used here locally in Super Sharks, but now a lot of instructors have used it all over Malaysia. Some of the initiatives that we started in 2008 was a grassroots talent program where we identified young talents for Selangor swimming. Through that, we've developed around 35 national athletes that swam in the SEA Games, Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, and the latest in the Olympics in 2016-2020. We've got a swimmer called Jing En, who's from Selangor. And to name a few, we've created also swimmers like Jing Fu, Caroline Chan, Asmalia, Raja Aslina, those competing in the Asian Games, World Championships, and so forth. So in total, we have a really big pool of talent that came through Super Sharks. And I do hope in the near future, we'll be able to produce more talents also for the country. As for our CSR program, we give back to the community. We've teamed up with Perangsang and SAY to launch a water safety awareness campaign in Selangor, targeting the rural areas, places like Kuala Kubu Baru, Uluyang, Banting, to help encourage and teach them a little bit about water safety. This water safety campaign has tapped almost 25,000 students across Selangor, and it's still currently ongoing. It is something which we can help, hopefully, to bring down the drowning cases in Selangor or in Malaysia, which has already surpassed the dengue cases. So if you don't know, drowning is the second biggest cause of death for children under the age of 15, only second to road accidents. It's very unfortunate. So we do hope that through these initiatives, we get to reach out to more Selangorians and hopefully Malaysia in the future in regards to water safety awareness. So that's a little bit about Super Sharks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for that very comprehensive introduction and also insight into what you do. I'd just like to share that for us from Kementerian Pendidikan dan Sukan, it's very heartening. It's very confidence-inspiring for us to hear the tales which has been shared by industry players such as yourself and many others that we've been speaking to, because your embrace of technology and also progression is in line with many of our pillars, especially the empowerment of the sports industry, the embrace of sports technology, as well as finally talent identification and development. So for that, I applaud you, Swim Sharks, and all the other propagators and protagonists within the industry. Bravo to you all. And finally, last but not least, we have Miss Mariana Muhammad, our former national road cyclist and duathlete. Welcome, Mariana. So could you please share with us who you are, what you do, and perhaps your views as an athlete and member of the local sports community?
Hi, okay, thank you so much, Mr. Shamil Yusuf. Evening, Tuanku Raja Muda Selangor and Mr. Mak Chua. Yeah, my name is Mariana Muhammad. I've been an athlete pretty much many years, and I've just retired from the national team quite some time already. But still, I'm an active person, an avid cyclist, so I cycle pretty often. So anyway, my view about this as a cycling, sports person in general. Well, in general, we know that sports has always been the main contributor in the economy and the social development in the country. So, and sports has successfully empowered women, the young generation, the rights individuals, and the health of the community, sports education, and social inclusion. As an athlete, as an ex-athlete actually, I fully support the sports development at the community level, and like junior cycling Malaysia, Fit Malaysia are the examples of the government efforts in trying to make the country to love of the sports and try to identify new talents. Yeah, like the Cyberjaya. I was cycling this morning, and I go through these lanes, the cycling lanes. You know, Cyberjaya they have that, and Putrajaya they have the cycling lane to encourage more cycling, and not just only cycling. I mean, running and walking as well. You know, you can inline skate if you can actually inline skate on the road. Yeah, so this is the efforts that the government is trying to do for Malaysia, and in sports participation as a community should also not only for age. It's not age restrictions that should and the ability of the physical ability or gender. It should be all rounder. Everybody should be taking part, you know, in the sports, because sports is for everybody, right? So you know, it's important that we as a sports person to bring the focus that living a healthy lifestyle is very important, and besides living a healthy lifestyle, safety is very important as well. And as a community, it's best that everybody to get involved, do sports together, do it regularly, consistently, even as a family. Take part in the community events, do fitness together, cycling in groups, you know, just find yourself, just get involved in living a healthy lifestyle. I mean, like youngsters now, they have hidden talents that in the world of sport, but they don't have the right channel, or they have no chance to portray their talents. So therefore, when there's a development of sports from the community, we are able to introduce new talents for this future of our national sports. The progress is there, but just a little slow. But I think slowly but surely we'll get there. Yeah, that's my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mariana, for providing your input into sports as you see today. I just like to stop for a while and appreciate the fact of, number one, these unprecedented times that we live in, and the challenges that's being faced by all our cohorts and our allies and our friends and family within the sports industry and also within other industries, Malaysian as a whole. So Visi Sukan Negara, together with Selangor Youth Community, we take a minute to recognize this plight and also the challenges and the struggle that everyone's going through, and just to highlight that the formulation of this roadmap is towards focusing to prepare us better as a community and an industry for upcoming challenges, if there is any. So again, we would like to contrast the three inputs put forth by Julian Chamat Mulia, Tuanku RMS, by Mark and Mariana as three juxtaposed perspectives on the sports industry. One from a community body point of view, second from someone in the sports industry, and finally Mariana as an individual in the sports industry. And for that, we thank you. And to move along, to focus on the importance of community-level sports development and the roles being played by bodies and associations and community groups such as yours. Tuanku, why do you feel these community-level programs and platforms are important? And how do you envision that we as a country and as a people could better enhance that value proposition?
That's such a great question. For me, grassroots is the foundations for any of the sports to be successful. It is important that that is where we can find good talent in the grassroots as well. So the point is, existing talent will eventually grow to a point where they can no longer perform at their best. So even us as an organizing body will eventually need someone to take on the torch. So we're humans after all. So having a platform that can involve the people, involve the community at various levels, from as young as 5 years old to even just social leagues that we play every weekend. This will allow the experience and the building of more of the human capital, the pools for the future. So we want many individuals in the state as possible to be involved in sport. But as an athlete or in various other roles, but not just as athletes, but also in various roles that involve to make the sport to be successful. So this is what we need to realize and what we need to point out on that. And we also want to build, quality, but we need a bigger foundation to do that. For example, what we've done recently is with cycling. In early 2019, with our criterion cycling, we've noticed that there's not many cycling competitions, even at the social level. So here in Selangor Youth, we've created that platform and created the Selangor criterion, which was open to everyone. And we broke them down into age groups. But then later on, we thought, okay, how to develop this into a much better, more professional group of riders is we thought, instead of dividing them by age, let's divide them by their strengths, by their talent. So we got all the riders to do their FTP test, which is in a way to show how strong they are. And we broke them into those groups. So now it's a lot more competitive and a lot more exciting for the riders as well, because they know okay, they have to work harder, they have to train harder. It's not just the age anymore, So you could be 30 or 18 racing side by side, which I think is fantastic, because in that alone, you're creating its own little community amongst the racers of that respect and professionalism amongst each other. So community level program is extremely important, because without the community as well, starting from the very young, starting with parents, we need parents to be involved. We need, the support of all each other to allow these platforms. And from that, we then have to look at sponsorships as well. How do we get more money flowing into the community? Because, to set up these events, to get referees, to get the coaches, these are actually talented people, so they should be paid for this. So by having that grassroots platform, it allows these corporations, local companies to then realize that, okay, there is a lot of value in funding these events and funding these sports teams to help them develop for the future. Because only from then we can hope to develop champions and idols that we can, rally behind. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Tuanku. We absolutely echo your sentiments when it comes to the topic of democratization of sports. And at Visi Sukan Negara, we are also very committed to that basic pillar of increasing or rather decreasing the barriers of entry for everyone, Malaysian from all walks of life, to embrace and enjoy the sports that they want to. Thank you.
Yeah, it has to be talent driven, because in sports it's completely merit driven. Only the best gets to stand on the podium. It's not about what connections you have or what funds is all in your pocket, but it's totally has to be merit driven, and not just on the athletes, but also in the people that are leading the organizations, the management side, the CEOs of the teams. They too have to be merit driven and as accountable as corporates in the real world, because without that, then we're not helping ourselves. We're going to be hindering all the beautiful talents that we could be having.
Absolutely, Tuanku. We are currently using models from the global stage for us to better understand, to equip ourselves within this blueprint, because the blueprint is only the first step. The execution plan will be 99%, of the culmination of our efforts. And for that, we need every stakeholder on board. We need everyone to passionately believe in Visi Sukan Negara, and also to push the democracy on sports, for Malaysians in general.
Yes.
Thank you, Tuanku. Moving on again to Mariana. Ms. Mariana, in terms of the importance of community-level sports development, as an athlete who's been involved in both high-level and also community-level competitions, why do you think it matters to cater to both levels of competition, not just, having a focus on peak performance and having a focus of all that? So do share with us your thoughts.
Well, as an athlete who has been involved in a high-level and community-level competition, I think, in my opinion, it is very important to participate in both levels, so you get to feel both the high and the community side of it. But first of all, many athletes of the national and international status participate in both sports events, because surely many Malaysians, if they know that these athletes are actually doing the same thing, not just doing the high intensity, the high level competitions, they also don't mind at all to just go down same level as them and just do the groundwork, like cycle with among them, the community, which is good. And then they will get inspired and easy to absorb the spirit of sports in themselves. So this is because they feel like these athletes not only participate in the standard competitions, but they are willing to go together with them in the field and join the fellow community in sports. So, and then when the parents see that, they say, oh, okay, this is nice. So they will encourage the children as well to participate in sports. And by doing this, many talents can be identified. Now, apart from that as well, it is also about the community to share. When they start this, when they gather together, that they tend to share knowledge, like example, they share about, how to eat right. And then they say, okay, I do this, why don't you follow me? And the self-discipline, they will follow that. And then the proper techniques before and after training, So, and then like nowadays, millennials, today, they're doing so much of these unprofitable activities. So with the help of the national and the international athletes, in the community, it can make the millennials today realize that, they will change their unproductive culture with more productive activities, and that could make their lives and their mental health, much healthier, of course. And because, like if one bad person change, the others will follow, surely, right? So we are actually the great role model for this young generation. That's my case.
Thank you. Thank you. So to all our guests, you heard it from the horse's mouth herself. Yeah. So inclusivity, the progress to break the ceiling in terms of our local sporting landscape lies within our hands. We are the collective. We are the voice. So thank you, Mariana, for sharing that. I'd like to focus back on Mark. So Mark, do you think these community level models, and platforms should be replicated to other sports and in other states in Malaysia, especially from the focus of your experience at running Swim Sharks, from your experience of cooperation, collaboration, and also the challenges surrounding those topics? What do you think is the next step for us to start to improve this level of community sports in Malaysia?
Thank you. Yes, I totally agree that community sports, it starts all with the community, and that's the only solution at the moment that we have. To start with the community level, hence producing grassroots and then working upwards. The first level, in creating a healthy nation as a whole, hence creating productivity, sports for all, we should actually promote it to the whole entire community because there are different levels. So sports for all, everyone, family, father, mothers, grandfather, grandparents, and everyone involved. So it's sport for all. With that being set as the baseline, sports for all, then we can move up into different tiers, talent, maybe scouting, and producing high-level performance in the future. I think the main importance is to create a bigger pool so that we have better options. And of course, with better options, we can streamline and have better talents in the future. Again, as I said, it should be a lot easier to replicate a successful model rather than recreate. It is a proven platform. If it's a proven platform with proper data and numbers and the correct people seeing through the system, I do believe that it can be a huge success. We can always learn and adapt from other countries and learn their ways. It's not something new, sports, I would say, in a platform and community level, especially in first world countries. And if you just look at our neighboring countries, for example, like Singapore, they've implemented sports for all in the whole entire community. And every Singaporean knows how to swim. Every Singaporean do a lot of exercises. And there's also obviously facilities very close by for Singaporeans to be able to get healthy. With that 20-year plan, giving you a comparison, I swam for the country in early 90s, and we are very similar, I would say, in terms of level with Singapore back in the 80s and 90s. I would dare say that we were even better than Singapore back then. We had Nurul Huda, Jeffrey Ong, and so forth that carried the Malaysian flag, and they were there for a long period of time. 25 years later, we could not repeat that cannot repeat that system or repeat that the continuation of winning. We have somehow stayed the same while other countries have progressed. So I would say it takes a lot of community level to be able to elevate ourselves to a very high performance. If we don't get the community involved, we will never reach to a high level because we don't have enough talents and support from the parents. Like all grassroots programs, implementation of the government is really, really important. Private sectors like us are really having quite a tough time trying to juggle with both. So if the government is willing to look at the problems with an open heart and mind, they will find out that the source of this problem starts with the community and grassroots, where the developmental stage of every athlete was not properly taken care of, the welfare of the athletes. And if we are just going to cultivate sport as a sport or just a topic, it's not going to get through their mind. It needs to be a way of life. Sports needs to be embedded like a way of life, like a healthy living. And with that, they will see a higher meaning and a higher purpose to go further rather than just monetary and also fame. So the most important thing about sports is to be healthy. And if you have a sporting entity of people who thinks about healthiness and getting ready to go out there and give it their best, we will have a set of talents in the future that will drive the country not for some nonsense reasons, but for the real reasons of sports, which is a part of life. And of course, at the end of the day, if you can capture what's happening right now, like the Olympics and the Paralympics, which have recently brought fame and togetherness and unity to all Malaysians through these tough times. Sports brought the nation together in these undesirable times, and the nation progresses together, and then only we can emerge as one. So I would dare say that, with the political turmoil which is happening right now, sports is the key to bringing the nation together, and it starts with community and grassroots programs. Very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that great insight. What we can surmise, listening to your input there, would be the need for, number one, the need for collaboration and cooperation amongst everyone. And I reckon that number two, there is a need for us to indigenize and localize our approach. There are a lot of global level plans out there that we can just duplicate. We're very famous for doing that. However, we truly believe in earnest that for us to transcend towards the next, break through our ceilings, we need to be able to work together, and that's how we formulated Visi Sukan Negara as a means for us to collaborate perpetually. It is a living document. We intend to revisit this year on year, and we intend to, admit our mistakes, or rather understand certain inaccuracies in our approach, and be able to accept that and to fine-tune our approaches from year to year. So we hope to transcend political will, to transcend the turmoil going on today, for us to be able to maintain the focus on what's important for the next generation. Okay, before I move on to the next topic, which is the challenges that we're facing in the sports industry, I'd like to first visit the question and answer, the Q&A session, the Q&A section, sorry. So, number one, to address the first question by Philip Yip. So we have the question as, what is the KBS long-term plan for retired athletes, in which this will lead to consideration for Malaysian parents to allow their kids to be involved in sports or choose sports as their life career? That's a stupendous question / statement, Philip. Thank you for bringing that up. On behalf of Ministry of Youth and Sports, I'd like to address that question. Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, through Majlis Sukan Negara, through the MECE, the entrepreneurial course and campaign / program by MSN, KBS and MSN seeks to correct and also fine-tune our perspective on an athlete's career, which we hope to encompass during the grassroots level, during the athlete's career, as well as post-athlete's career. So we seek to improve their sense of entrepreneurship, their sense of individuality, and also the chances of them, surviving in the real world. So KBS has very conscious efforts, Philip, to be able to frame this better for the budding athlete or even the present athlete, to plan better for their futures and to be able to leverage better on the mechanisms provided by KBS and all these relevant agencies. And in summation of that, we hope that will be a strong push towards the consideration of all Malaysian parents. Don't hesitate to push your kids into sports. That not only the traditional sports, we have many, many sports out there. And these emerging sports are what we're hoping is to bring glory and also focus on Malaysia as a sporting nation. So thank you, Philip, for that. And next, we have a question from, I'll address one more question from the Q&A section from Ms. Sarina Sundara Raja. She's addressing Tengku Amir. Hello, Tengku Amir. Thanks for being a good sport earlier. I trust your story has a good ending. Thank you, Tuanku, for covering our technical issues just now with the story. So we appreciate that very much. Sarina's question: are there any plans in the near future, to establish a professional youth sports league focusing on women and girls to increase grassroots participation in Selangor? Tuanku, if you may.
Excuse me. Yes, there is. Well, I can only speak specifically in the sports that I'm in control of. So in terms of football, the association, we have put aside more money. In fact, we've increased 80% to the next year into development, into inclusive for women's sports. I see that there's a very dire need because women athletes are being left behind, unfortunately. When I came into football in 2018, I found out the national women's sports team was basically shut down, which is really sad, because they are just as great as the men, sometimes better. So, how do we do this? So yes, we need to go back to the start again and focus a little bit on the grassroots element, bringing more young girls from school into sports teams. So we've been developing sort of these young talent teams to get them more interested and to get the parents buy-in, because it's so important to buy into the parents as well, because we've seen so many times, and like we've seen, the general stereotypical thing is like, why go to sports? Go become a professional in, doctors, lawyers, and whatever. That's the typical route that any parent wants. But what we're trying to educate as well, not just for women, but for every young person in sport, is that sports can give you sort of these skills that you can't learn in school: teamwork, professionalism. It trains your health, your mental health as well on top of that. And when you go into competition, that gives you another element of being that competitive spirit, that wanting to win, wanting to never give up, and having that camaraderie in a team sport, especially. So yes, in terms of women's sports, it is definitely something that I have been focusing on and been pushing the team to push on. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tuanku, for addressing that question, and thank you to Sharina, both Sharina and Philip, for fielding those important questions. Totally relevant to our topic today. So keep it coming, guys. We'll try to address your questions as they come along. So for us to move to the next topic at hand, the challenges that we all face within the sports industry and these efforts that we're trying to do. So I'd like to start with Mark for this round. Mark, what are the challenges faced in nurturing new talents, besides the parents, the family unit themselves, or rather, if you want to elaborate further on that as well? But what are the typical sets of challenges, and how do you feel we can help these children, help the grassroots level overcome these sets of challenges?
You're on mute, Mark.
Thank you. That's a really good question. And maybe I could help by answering for Philip as well in regards to the career and stuff. Number one, I feel that in sports in general, number one, that's severely lacking of facilities. In order for us to go out and enjoy sports, we need facilities. We need a basketball court, we need a tennis court, we need, places for us to be able to do swimming and of course, we can't really rely on the government because I do believe that they have their hands tied. So private institutions like Super Sharks and a lot more others out there have taken their own initiative to build those facilities. And of course, that that's not easy, building your own swimming pools and tennis courts and so forth. But what's the worst part after building that is that we have a major problem trying to get a license to operate. Because there is no jurisdiction in, I would say, in the councils that states that private institutions can build sports complexes or sports, sports facilities. And when I go up to like the municipal councils and tell MPPJ that I'm building a swimming pool in a shop lot or in a factory lot, they think that I'm doing it for, for like a massage center or spa or some reasons, because they've never heard of a swimming pool, built in a shop lot or in any location, either from an open field. So that's one or two problems which I have, and I would say I could speak on behalf of all other swimming operators that this will be the first problem in terms of getting licensings and approvals from the government. So I really do hope that we can work together, because we are doing it for the community without the government's help, but we do need the government's help in terms of this licensing. So we don't expect the government to, to fund our facilities, but we do hope that the government will support us in some way by giving us license and some sort of a clear path for us to run our business. So that's number one in terms of facilities and licensing. Secondly, to answer Philip's question is that sports is a long process. It's a hugely long process, especially for swimming. If you start swimming at the age of 3, you most likely be able to
to do well at the age of 9 or 10 after 6 to 7 years. So that's on the first tier. And if you want to go up to the second tier in state level or in national level, it takes 15, 20 years. So obviously the longevity which parents make sacrifice for their children after 15 years, 20 years, not knowing where they will head to, is a big gamble. And I could totally understand that. And what we need to do as sports institution is to be able to provide this career avenue for them. For example, you can tell them that if they do finish as an athlete, they can become a coach and hopefully set up a center like Super Sharks, and to be able to train hundreds and hundreds of swimmers, and to be able to be in the business. So that's one part of it. Another part of it, as what we try to do here in our pool, is that we send a lot of swimmers to America for scholarship programs. In total, we send a total of about 45, 46 swimmers on a full scholarship programs, some to like Stanford, some to like UCLA, USC, through swimming. And this is an initiative by the entrepreneur or by the owner or the CEO of the organization or company. The governments will not have an avenue like that because it's all in-house in national, Bukit Jalil. But for those who did not make the national team, there's also an avenue for them to get scholarships out there and to go to pursue their swimming and education overseas. So this is something which I recommend a lot in my swim school. If you can't go overseas to America with a scholarship, then you can always apply for a local scholarship here. And I'm pretty sure a lot of college and universities will give you a scholarship if you are a state swimmer or a national swimmer. Another problem which I have, obviously, are mindsets of parents. As coaches, the mindsets of parents needs to be aligned together with the coaching, with the coaches, because a lot of times parents think that it's a quick fix. They work hard for a year or two, they can go win a gold medal in the Olympics, which is not possible at all. So I need to be able to educate them, paint a picture for them that this is a long-term process. Sports is a long-term process. If you do well, it gives you benefits like health benefits, and if you do extremely well, it gives you fame and so forth. But at the end of the day, what's really important is to get all of this together. And I do feel that hopefully with the help of this town hall, we get to eliminate and to help private associations like us to do a little bit more for the country.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. From the very brief sets of challenges that you just shared with us also, we just like to extend our gratitude to you for being a perpetual member, of a very low profitable industry with all the challenges that you've been facing in the past few years. But somehow or other, still keeping up this spirit of collaboration and also, your focus on kids, on the grassroots, So for that, all of us, thank you, bro. So to move back to Tuanku, RMS, I'd like to ask you, what are the challenges in running all these different sports development platforms? Even with your unique position, Tuanku, what would you envisage be the challenges that we could all overcome together?
Yeah, I mean, there has been a few challenges along the way, and I would like to echo what Mark was saying. Facilities is a big part of it. There's a big gap between professional facility and community facilities. So that needs to be addressed because, you can't expect a community to be renting out Bukit Jalil on the weekends. It's too expensive and it doesn't make sense, So we need to be creating more facilities to facilitate those sort of, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 athletes so that they can, compete along the way. And that links on to what I was wanting to say is competition. Unfortunately, in schools, there's not much competition. And what I've seen through football, competition is done in a carnival setting. So it's basically just one weekend or a long weekend, Friday to Monday, where they just knock out as many games as possible. That to me does not drive the competitive spirit, because for a group of young kids that want to play football, if they're training and they have to only have one competition in 3 months, it's how do you keep that encouragement going throughout the time? Competition needs to be a weekly basis. How I experienced it when I was growing up and when I was in school and overseas. It's a weekly thing. And yes, and with the changing of seasons, the kids get to change their sports as well. But that sense of competition is a weekly basis. So that when they train for them, they're a lot more involved and a lot more excited. some other issues that we also see is through my association is politics. You know, the first 3 months was for me when I joined was not to think about how to make football better, but I had to think about how to defend my position in the association straight off the bat. And I had to play the game, because that was the system that I was given. So I had to play politics and try to, win votes in a way. So that took away all my effort and all my thinking and took away my spirit as well of, what is this? Like, what am I doing? But then, now, then I've been given the next couple of years, and then I'm going to have to defend myself again at the end of this year because it's an election year as well in my sporting community. So politics needs to be removed. There's no place for politics in sports because it's not needed at all. We need to be a completely merit-based, and we need to promote good athletes, and we need to promote good managers and directors along the way. So focus on integrity and effective governance is basically what I'm trying to say. Other areas that we challenged is having reliable and sustainable programs. What I've seen in some of the talks earlier is that unfortunately, there's not been enough support where government can give to the corporates. There are tax exemptions and tax deductibles, but it's not for everything. It should be allowed to be, if I sponsor a team, there should be some incentive there. However, they've changed the rules where it's only for events, for one-off little things. So those are not very effective and sustainable at all. Events they're great, they create interest, but they don't create the talent. They don't sustain the grassroots at all. So we need to have a much more, thoughtful way to how to get the corporates more involved into the community, into the sports itself, by either through incentivizing them through tax deductions or, other means that the government can come up with. At the moment, it's complicated, and, some of these events are not even counted because I believe online events are not even counted as a real event. So, we're here on an online event itself, but, I think we're coming up with great ideas and great point of view. So I don't think it's any less valuable. So those are the main, 3 areas that I found the challenge of when I joined into sports. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuanku. Thank you. Thank you for your honest insight into the challenges that we are facing together. We'd like to echo your sentiment on especially the challenges of decentralization in terms of political interference, as well as the gap between professional as well as grassroots infrastructure provided to the public in general. So that is a focus that we at the Secretariat of Visi Sukan Negara is paying very large focus and perspective on, Tuanku. So we thank you for your input, and we hope that together with the other agencies within the KBS ecosystem, namely we have Majlis Sukan Negara, Institute Sukan Negara, Jabatan Belia Sukan Negara, Pesuruhjaya Sukan, as well as 5 other agencies, such as the Institute for Youth Research and Strategies, IRIS, and Impact, who is in charge of the esports ecosystem. So with that, Tuanku, we would like to guarantee you that the attitudes and the opinions are changing even at ministerial level. We see the importance of closing the gap, and we are very, we have an embrace of acceptance on what is the gap left behind between the globe and Malaysia, and hope to close that gap in the next few years or so. So finally,
that's fantastic. Yeah, I do definitely see positive inputs and changes that's happening. Sorry, I didn't mean to paint a very dire picture of what's going on, but yeah, there are changes definitely happening. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuanku. Actually, Selangor Youth and the programs within Selangor Youth and the state level has been a model for democracy, for the decentralization, in sports, and also the democratic rights for the grassroots community going up to peak performance. So for that, we applaud Selangor and yourself, Tuanku. Thank you. And finally, for the topic of challenges, this is much closer to my heart because Mariana, I have a question for you. In terms of the challenges of getting, more people to take up sports as a culture, and also that nuance of extra challenges for women and girls to take up sports and to be involved in sports at a competitive level. Do share with us a bit of your insights and what we could do to improve that situation. You're muted, Mariana, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that everything in life has challenges, right? So among the challenges in making sports culture of life is actually the time constraint. Like everybody, that most Malaysians would say, oh, I don't have time, I'm so busy. They're just so busy earning a living day and night that, they don't have time at all to relax or do sports activities at all. It is very sad. So health is very important to us, and which money can never buy. And so no matter how busy your work schedule is, it's very, very important to just include, activities in your life. Let it be like whatever, just something that to move your body, your ligament. It needs to move. You can't be just sit down and just do your work. It's just not right, yeah, even like 30 minutes, it's good enough for you. It will be suffice for everybody. You can't find long hours to do all these workouts. So being a woman who choose sports as a career, we face so much challenges. And obstacles where we have to make important decisions whether we want to pursue this as a career or we want to set up a household. So we have to make a balanced decision. It's not easy for us. Some people it's easy, but some they have to face a lot of obstacles, of course. And women athletes, they face so much challenges other than making decision to focus on their career, and then they know that at certain point they can only go that level and they can't go much further, and they will go decline. Their performance will decline. So in order for them to keep up their performance, they have to sacrifice so much, and of course they will lack the household, and they will focus on one thing, and it is rather difficult. But in the end, for the love of sports, sometimes you just have to face this, and you just do where your heart is, and hoping that the family will understand that is what you want to do. And besides that, like female athletes, they tend to face so much other challenges, such as like they put on weight so much faster than the men. The men are so much easier. Women, they stop for a while and that's it. And for them they have to start all over again if they want to lose their weight and get fit again. So that's why they have to maintain. They can't stop for too long. So that's why I have to consistently doing what I do. Otherwise, I can just see myself. It's just like boom, that's it. 2 kgs in 1 week. So easy to just gain that. So we have so much challenges in ourselves, and some people are easy to immune to criticism. Some people can't face this criticism because women are more soft. We are emotional, sensitive, and so we can't take so much criticism from other people. And if we have too much of this criticism, we tend to do something beyond our capabilities, and that will cause mental and physical issues for us, of course. So the imbalance between male and female coaches is also very important in the world of sports to maintain our well-being as a female athletes. So, and the responsibilities of, if you're in the sports career, these responsibilities of the coaches and the sports medical officers, they play important role as ensuring that the female athletes are always at the best of their performance in maintaining, so that they can always in the best shape to in performing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana, for sharing with us your opinion on that. However, I cannot go first because we're referring to the FB Live comments. There are quite a few comments directed to you actually. So we have a few ladies like Delia and all. They want to find out. So this advertisement time for you. They want to find out how to join you for your cycling programs or your cycling sessions. Perhaps you could share with us your social media accounts and all those so that we can stalk you and follow you.
Yeah, of course, I'll be gladly to I organize Monday night ride. Before the MCO started, my Monday night ride is always there to cater all these female that is working during the day and they have some time to cycle at night. So I will actually encourage them to come and join because the speed is not fast. I'm sure they can follow, and I have my sweeper that will actually guide them if they get dropped. So which is good, for people who wants to, they work all day and they get so tired and they just want to go cycling at night to de-stress. So this is great for them. And I do have I work in the VO2 Max where we focus on how do you say it? Focus on improving your cycling. So which is good. If you want to improve your cycling, come and meet me. Meet Mariana.
Facebook,
I can't hear you. Sorry, you're breaking.
How do we follow you on Instagram or Facebook? Username?
Yeah. Okay. My name, my ID for Instagram is Mariana M Ford, and for Facebook is Mariana Muhammad.
Okay.
Thank you.
For everyone, please follow Mariana on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and also don't forget to follow Super Sharks. We have Mark's Academy there. Follow Super Sharks so you can get all the information and the latest programs and campaigns. Thank you, Mariana. Okay, we up to the last topic for today, the hopes and aspirations of our speakers and guests for VSN 2030. But before I move there, I'd just like to address the final bodies of questions within the Q&A section. So we have 2 questions, which I'll open up to all 3 speakers. Please feel free to interject and answer the questions. Yeah. Question number 1. How do we ensure our national Visi Sukan, the national sports vision, to have more inclusivity and social inclusion moving forward? That's the first question. Would anyone like to take that up?
You come very with good questions, huh? How do we ensure more inclusivity? Well, I think it's also to understand that, it's not just about the main 8 sports that we have. I think diversity can be answered by showing that there are many sports available, and that maybe KBS can sort of support this other sports by maybe not necessarily funding a team or funding the league, but supporting it in other means by giving incentives, by making sure regulations are not difficult. For example, like for Mark, not to have private sector to get involved in making it so difficult for them. So there are many sports. I think I saw one of the comments. There's some other things out there that we need to be focusing on too, which have also brought back medals for the country.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Okay, for the last complicated question from the Q&A section, our guests are they like to stump us, yeah, Tuanku, Mark, Mariana, they like to very challenging questions. So the second question is very relevant. The question is, how can we mobilize the sport-based initiatives to sustain livelihood? So this is a very important question. How do people like Mark, Mariana, myself, or how do we continue to develop and grow within this industry in light of this current pandemic that's ending, and also in light of the new challenges within the new sporting landscape? Perhaps Mark would like to comment on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think during this pandemic, a lot of us have to be elastic and start to be a little bit more flexible. Being our old ways will not, the old ways will not generate the same income as what is happening right now because of the change. So I do believe that flexibility is really important. We need to be flexible and be able to move with times. Also, at the end of the day, being able to adapt new implementations, speaking to the community out there to see what is needed, and you will find the answers out there if you look far enough. So yeah, I think it's important to be flexible, and it's important to be able to maneuver around and change a little bit of what you believe in, and of course, at the end of the day, hopefully times will get better.
Thank you.
If I could add, can I add on to that? I think as well, to make us a bit more adaptable in that sense, is that starting from young, we need the athletes to not just be athletes alone, but also student athletes, to have that mindset that learning is a lifelong process. You know, when I joined into football, I have about just under 100 footballers in my team. Only 11 is going to make it to the main stadium. So what about the rest? What is their future going to look like? And if they're only going to be doing the bare minimum, which is turn up for training, which is, 2 hours a day, what about the rest of their day? Are they being efficient with their time and learning other skills? So, I think it would be interesting if maybe the government can support student athletes in a much more meaningful way, getting their diplomas, getting their education as well, because from becoming an athlete, there's much more they can be. They can be in the marketing side, they could be in the talent development under coaching, or they could be, there's so much more to inside sports.
Thank you, Tuanku. Thank you. So that brings us to the last topic for today. It's been an exciting talk. It's been very engaging, and I was wishing that this would never end. However, I need to get our aspirations. Yeah. So in terms of our hopes, your hopes for Visi Sukan Negara 2030. Yeah. Let's begin with Tuanku. Tuanku, how do you see Visi Sukan Negara 2030 in aiding NGOs such as Selangor Youth Community and others, and other organizations as well, to develop and host a more diverse ecosystem of sports in the nation?
Yeah. So obviously we as an NGO are committed to better the nation, right? And only by working together with the government that we can truly reach out and impact as many individuals and talent that we can. So let us as the community work together, all for the benefit of the community itself. So I'm positive that with Visi Sukan Negara 2030, we as NGOs and the community will have a better support and avenue to develop Malaysia as a sporting nation, and thus will be able to impact the nation in many ways, be it socially, economically, as well as in health in the eyes of the world. Ini visi kita.
Amazing, Tuanku. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your VC. My hair on the back of my neck is standing, actually. So next for Mark. Mark, how can Visi Sukan Negara 2030, what can we do to help in the identification and development of new talents?
Firstly, I think it's a really, really good initiative in regards to KBS to come up with this Vision 2030. I think it's a really good exercise. I do hope that, by having a clear conscious and a structured pathway, there's transparency and all accessibility to all parties. I think that's really, really important, not only for the top management like KBS and MSN, but also down to the state associations, to the clubs, schools, There are a lot of schools which come up with club swimming, club rollerblading, club golf, club tennis in the schools, up to that level, because I think I would say the godfather of sports, the one that takes charge, we need to look all the way down to the grassroots and all the way up, not only on the surface of that. The second thing is by implementing and executing a fair and non-political and non-biased selection criteria. I think that's really, really important. Luckily, swimming is by merit because it's by timing, but unfortunately, like diving, it's a subjective sport in aquatics and synchronized swimming. So I think it's really, really important to be merit-based, according to Tuanku, and I shadowed that as well. I totally agree. The next is also to get all the various parties involved, swim schools, and to come up with some incentive, maybe like some sort of support or incentive program or some recognition program that the private institution are doing a good job, and you can motivate them to go further, and instead of giving them more restrictions. So I think that would be really, really good if KBS can have a supporting letter to support private institutions that are going through this difficult times, especially with the governments and the respective parties. Of course, at the end of the day, by building an ecosystem, I think it's really, really important to build an ecosystem and to get everyone involved, from parents to community to coaches. When you look at it as a whole, as a whole big ecosystem, everyone has a role to play, and everyone will feel that they're part of something, rather than being excluded. So I do feel empowerment to the people and to various parties are very, very important. We need to empower them so that they feel wanted and they are willing to go further, even though there are many, many obstacles. And thank you very much again for having this town hall. I do believe that this will really, really help sports in Malaysia in general. Thank you.
That insight was amazing, Mark. Thank you for sharing that. It goes a long way to say that champions like yourself are very instrumental in building champions for the next future generation. And to that, I tip my imaginary hat to you, sir. Okay, so moving on to last but never the least, Cik Mariana, your hope for VSN 2030. What are your hopes for VSN 2030? And what do you hope that the short-term impacts of VSN on the nation's sports sector? Do share.
Well, my hope for, thank you, Jamil. My hope for Vision 2030 is that the national sports mission can be well implemented and achieve what is planned. And I hope that public community, youth, athletes, and sports bodies actually can work together and achieve this Visi Sukan Negara 2030. And I also hope to see Malaysia to produce more world-class athletes. Like we have Azizul, Dato' Azizul. It's just so proud to see him there. I mean, I feel so proud because I used to train. I mean, I trained with him back in Melbourne. So when I see him there, it's like, I'm sure everybody can feel that moment when he was on the podium. Yeah. So it's really something. And I hope to able to see more women actually take part, participation in all kinds of sports. I mean, in cycling, come and join me. I can start you guys. Just come. We just do it for slow ride, and then we can work your way up. Come and just go out there and start yourself. Get yourself involved in this kind of thing. It's really good for you. And then I hope to create more awareness about how healthy lifestyle is so important in you. And then at the same time, you want to have safety. So, that is basically just my vision, to see more women on the road cycling, not just men, because sometimes when I ride with a bunch of men, it's only like I'm the only one there. So I like to see like 2 or 3 or 4 or even more, the more the merrier. So we can actually compete with the guys. That would be, that would be great. And then even for the young ones to get started, there will be a vision, it would be good to see that. And we create more cyclists, young generation. They need to go up there. Yeah. So we have to start somewhere.
Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you.
Call to action to all the girls, women, men, boys. Let's break through the walls of social barriers, gender, age, race, and social status, for us to together try to attain world-class performance and also to build a better future for our kids. And with that, I thank you again, all our distinguished panel and speakers, Tuanku RMS, Mr. Mark Chua and Mariana. We thank you from Visi Sukan Negara Secretariat as well as Selangor Youth Community. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for your time, your kind consideration and in speaking to us today. Please feel free to keep in touch with us, and to all of guests, please feel free to visit www.VSN2030.my. The canvas is still open up to the end of the month. We still seek your inputs and feedbacks for us to be able to collate a very effective and lasting document for everyone, God willing. So before I end our proceedings today, we are very proud to represent Selangor Youth, to introduce to you Selangor Smart Cycling. So Smart Cycling is an initiative by Cycling Selangor in partnership with Menteri Besar Selangor Incorporated, or MBI, to create a network of self-sustaining cycling community by building up new cyclists with the right knowledge and also to improve existing cyclists with the right tools to grow, in the end producing more champions from Selangor. So today we're very proud to introduce to you Smart Cycling Selangor, and before we run the official launch video, allow us to just share the 4 pillars of smart cycling, which are ride safe, gears and maintenance, food and nutrition, as well as route planning. So again, without much ado, Selangor Youth is very proud to present to you the state's very own cycling initiative, Cycling Selangor. Download the Smart Cycling Handbook, proudly brought to you by Selangor Youth as well as MBI Selangor, via scanning the QR code on your screen now. And as a closing, we would like to again acknowledge our distinguished panel of speakers and guests, Dulia Teramat Mulia Tengku Amir Shah, Ibni Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah, Raja Muda of Selangor, Mr. Mark Chua, the CEO of Super Sharks Swim School, and Miss Mariana Mohamad, our road cyclist and duathlete. Thank you so much, as well as all guests from the Secretary of VSN2030 and the Secretary of Selangor Youth, we bid you adieu. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you at the launch of Visi Sukan Negara 2030, insyaAllah. So with that, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullah. Thank you very much, everyone.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you. Thanks so much. Lots of fun today.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mariana.
Thank you, Mariana.